Hello everybody, today we're playing the MAUS. I'm happy about this video because I love playing the MAUS and I don't have a lot of games in it, so this will be fun. The MAUS is a not very commonly played tank in tier 10, and I think that's because it's just so unique. I've got two games here that show off some of the positive attributes of the tank. This first one is a bit of a disappointing game. The second game isn't, it's actually below my average damage from the session that I just played, but it shows perfectly well how you're supposed to use this tank. So I figured I'd just throw it in because of showing the gameplay mechanics of how you're supposed to play it rather than just showing a crazy high damage game. The MAUS is good if you know how to use your hit points well. If you try to just peek people and use your armor too much, you're definitely not going to do very well because it has huge weak spots while it does have really good armor. So if you look straight at somebody, obviously the cheeks of the turret can be penned by a lot of tanks, everybody knows that. Lower plate's also pretty weak, and your biggest weak point is pretty much tank destroyers because they can all pen those weak spots with standard ammo. I saw a tree fall there and I actually hit that guy, but anyway, they can pen you with standard ammo and do a lot of damage really quickly, and your hit points just kind of go away. And the main advantage of this tank, other than the armor, is the fact that you can trade so much towards the end of the game because you start out with like 500 more hit points than any other tier 10 heavy tank. The main problem I run into while playing the MAUS is not just its traverse speed, which can make rotating hard. It's the actual physical size of the vehicle makes it so that it's hard to hide it from multiple angles. And if you're not angling properly towards the enemy tank, they can just pen, like, you're just a wall of pennable armor. Like, if they're looking at your side, you're the biggest target in the game, and you're not angled at all. They're just going to pen you. So you really have to be careful with where you put yourself, because if you're in the wrong position, you're not going to do very well. And here I'm backing off because my team hasn't left spawn, and if the medium tanks in this IS-4 push out our one tank destroyer that's at the back of rails, we're going to be in a major crossfire with somebody directly behind us, and then their tanks are going to be able to push over the middle of the ridge. So I have to go back and kind of loop back through spawn and push their mediums and this IS-4 out so that we don't get flanked, because right now this bowl is a safe zone, but if they're on the edges of the bowl, obviously they can shoot into it. And this whole time I'm taking a huge risk here, because if I get spotted at any point, like past now-ish, a little bit before this, as I'm spotted here, their 183 can hit me because I know he's up in that corner. That's why I'm looking there. And like I said before, he can pen everywhere on my tank right now unless he hits, which he happens to hit my tracks. It's like a weird angle, but there's so little weird angles on this tank, it's like you just have to hit it to pen usually. So I was expecting to take around 1,000 damage there, but I really need to get out of where I was, and I would prefer to get better positioning and lose a lot of hit points than be stuck in a bad position for the rest of the game. So the other disadvantage that I struggle with in the MAUS is the height. It is an advantage in some situations, like you can pen hatches and engine decks and stuff like you just saw, but then there's situations like this right here where I can't actually see his hull because I'm not good at playing this tank and I'm not positioning myself very well. The main thing when you're angling like this is just keep the hull wiggling, because your weak spot is really small and your traverse speed is just good enough to be able to throw the track into where they're aiming real quick, and keep the turret pointed away, because that turret sidearm is a lot stronger than you think it is when you're playing. You can have it way over angled and it's still hard for most tanks to pen. So make sure your turret isn't pointed at people, kind of like an E100, and just wiggle that lower plate and you'll get plenty of bounces like I'm doing against these two medium tanks here. Just an add-on before we get into my next movement here. You do have good gun depression over the side, and I think it's the same over the front in this tank, but the height of the vehicle makes it so that when people are close to you, it doesn't matter that you have good gun depression because you can only shoot their roof and their turret. So if you're fighting someone at a distance and you have a ridge line, you can actually do quite well because you do have that gun depression, but as soon as they come close to you, they can kind of sit underneath your gun line. So that is something to keep in mind. Here I backed off of that position because my traverse speed is so bad, and this tank can only angle to sort of either two tanks at 45 degrees, I guess this is 90 degrees apart right here, or one tank in front of it. So if I let them get my sides like 180 degrees apart, it's not going to be very good to me. So I had to back up here to make sure that they didn't get my sides, and now I can attempt to angle to both of them while my team is pushing on the other side of the map. And this is exactly how you should be playing this tank. You should be finding a position where you can distract the enemy team while you do damage to them. And the only reason I wasn't doing damage is because my gunner was out. My traverse on my turret was just so poor I couldn't face either of them. But I was blocking damage, I'm wasting their time, and I'm slowly whittling them down. Even if they pen me a couple times, I start off with so much HP that it really just does not matter. I've blocked 5,500 damage at this point, and I still have over 1,200 HP. The other thing with this tank is the gun is not bad. You can't really miss if you aim for like a half second. It kind of just hits where it's aiming all the time. And 460 Alpha is like my favorite. It does 500 rules a lot. The HE does over 600 damage most of the time, and you still have 2,700 DPM, so it's not even like you take a hit in the DPM department. This gun is just overall really, really good. While I was dealing with those two medium tanks, I wasn't paying attention to the rest of the map. That's a skill issue, obviously, I know that. So I don't know where these two tanks are, but my plan here is to go up to the medium side and have the Object 752 drive where he's driving, or if he chooses to do so, which I hope he does, go into the cap. I'm also not paying attention at the time because I just got off work and came back from the gym. I'm very tired, so I'm just kind of going with the flow here. But I want to be able to have the enemy tanks come up from the bowl through the town right there, or the sides of the rails, and then I can peek out and shoot them so that they're drawn out to this object, but I'm supporting him, basically. So I tell him to cap. The Yag Tiger immediately gets spotted. He drives back into the cap. I get an opportunity to shoot the Yag Tiger here, and that's what I mean about the gun. You can see the aim circle was still big, but I took that second to aim, and it kind of just hits where it's pointed. So that's a huge positive. This gun does that a lot. Now the ST1, he has the stock gun there. So I was concerned about him because I am kind of low, and if he had that top gun, it's the same heat pen as the IS-4, which can pretty much butter through my turret. Now I don't really have to worry about that because he has the IS-3 gun to be on 9, so I can just kind of run in here. And this was one of my earlier games, so I'll use that as an excuse. But I'm driving an absolute boat, and I should definitely not be giving him the outside of my tank like this when I'm pressed up against the wall. It just allows him to get my side like this and get an easy pen. And this shot right here, that throws the game, unfortunately. As you can see, there's only 10 seconds left. The 7.52 missed, and I'm not going to be able to get another shot off. But that, to me, I aimed it. It should have hit, but, you know, RNG does what RNG does. So, unfortunately, we get the draw. It's still a pretty good game, but obviously I was quite upset about that. This is, I haven't uploaded to Blitz Stars yet, but this is like number 4 or something for this current season ratings. Still a really good game, 1600 XP on a loss with an ace. So I'm happy about it, but still upsetting because I didn't carry as hard as I could have. Now this game is less exciting. It's also low damage. I had, what was it? It was like 18 games or something. I took a screenshot, I might throw that in here. It was like 18 games or something, and I got a pretty low win rate. I only got like 55%. The matchmaker doesn't really know how to like balance this tank out. As you can see, there's a MAUS on the other team. I think that's just because people saw me playing it, but people don't usually play the MAUS, and it doesn't really know how to like cope with that when you press battle. But I got 3150 average damage over those games, and this one is, I think it's under that, so it's not like an exceptional game. But these two heavy tanks here are really confident that they can take me on, and I kind of just used the same tactics that I did in the last replay, just on a smaller scale. So immediately we take like an aggressive peek right there around the corner, but obviously we're in a MAUS, so we can bounce a shot and still have HP to take both of those. Would have sucked if we took both of them, but we didn't. I decided against peeking that AMX there, even before I knew this guy was coming around the corner in a dumb way, because if you side scrape out like that with your turret already pointing at them, they'll see your turret cheek before you spot them and just have an easy pen if they know what they're doing. So you kind of want to poke out with your gun mantlet first, and I didn't have the time to do that because this guy started to come around the corner. But anyway, you get the idea. They're both rushing me. I can only choose to angle to one of them, so I bounced the shot off of the MAUS because he has worse fine accuracy, I want to call it. I also bounce off of him, but now I can reverse out of this crossfire, and the AMX is in a crossfire between me and our medium tank AMX. So I can start taking shots at him. And again, I don't mind if I take the shot from the MAUS on the left here. I'd prefer not to, but I just want to shoot this AMX as many times as I can. This is another example of like taking damage in this tank just really doesn't matter up to a certain point. I don't care about bouncing the shot. Like, if I was in an IS-7, I would have just angled to him, but getting out of the crossfire is more important to me than actually bouncing the shot. So I just give him my side back up so he can't get my sides and rear and finish him off. And then here, I'm using the slope. This is a trick that, like, good players know. If you back up on the slope, it'll change it from them being able to pen your upper plate and your lower plate because of the way the angling is working. It's if you have the opportunity to do it, especially in a heavily armored tank, it's really effective because players that are not used to shooting heavily armored stuff won't know how to cope with it. They'll be aiming at the top plate, the bottom plate, back and forth. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys. I'm not a pro MAUS player. I'm not very good in it. I just enjoy playing it. It's a lot of fun. Highly recommended. If that little 2 clips of gameplay helped anyone figure out, like, sort of how to play it, because obviously it's not perfect, I'm glad. If you want me to play a specific tank, comment it below, and I will try to make a crack at it. Thanks for watching.